In case there's anybody in the room that's been under a rock for 20 years, I'm gonna quickly tell you. Okay, Tracee Ellis Ross is an American actress. Just a few things, right? Best known for her lead role as Joan Clayton, right? And of course now is Dr. Rainbow Johnson on Blackish, right? She's the daughter of actress and Motown recording artist Diana Ross and her father, Mr. Robert Ellis Silverstein. She has, got all the awards. NAACP Image Award. She's been in some movies. We're very excited. We're very excited to have her here, right? Okay. I want her to talk. I don't want her to she does. Okay, and Mr. Lee Daniels is an American producer, director, and writer.
Keep writing, brother.
That's right. Keep writing. All that. He produced Monsters Ball and directed Precious, which received 6 Academy Award nominations, including Best Director. He also directed The Butler in 2012, and I'm sure everyone is very familiar with his most recent works, Empire and Star. So we are so grateful to Mr. Daniels and Miss Tracee Ellis Ross, and I'm going to turn it over to our moderators. Thank you.
Round of applause for RJ. So again, my name is Marlon Hill, and my neck hurts right now. So my partner in crime here, Kanasha Paul, Black Girl Magic, the epitome of blackishness and brilliance, is going to be helping me to co-moderate this conversation that we are having here this morning. If you are a little bit warm right now, the Circle of Brotherhood and Sisterhood have some water in the back. Please drink some water. Or think cool thoughts of what you're going to hear at 10 p.m. on Tuesday, November the 6th, 2018. Think about, let's close our eyes for a moment. Close your eyes for a moment. Let's be still. Okay. So Brother Leroy Ganasha talked about his second chances taking 18 years. Right now we have over 10,000 pending applications before the Clemency Board in the state of Florida. It takes years in order for someone to get their rights restored. 1.4 million Floridians without the right to vote. 4 other states are doing this. And they're working hard, paying taxes. They are co-workers, Tracee. They are our neighbors. Some of them are our bosses and employers. Some of them are in the pews of the mosque or the church or the synagogue. Okay, and other places of worship. So I would like to begin this conversation, Kanasha. I'm going to ask Tracee and Lee to just kind of give us their thoughts as to why they believe that this is such an important moment in history for us.
Which one of you want to go first?
I was shooting. Hi, everybody. Let's vote. Let's start there. Let's vote. Vote. Okay. So, about right before Trump, right at the ending of Obama's tenure, I was on the set, and my son was 19, Taraji's son was 19, and Terrence's son was 19. Wow. All 3 of them, we looked at each other as we were shooting, and we were sort of grim. All 3 of our boys were in decent colleges around the country, but all 3 of our boys were on probation.
Keep it real.
And if we didn't have the money that we had, they would be incarcerated. That's when I knew something was going on. This is before Hillary, Trump, anything. I knew that something was going on, that they had an issue with our president, and that they were coming for us. They were coming to get us. They were taking our boys. So when I met Andrew, I knew what he stood for. I knew in my heart that I saw a bleak glimmer of hope a bleak glimmer for the first time with his voice. I saw his story as my story. My brother cannot vote. Most of my cousins cannot vote. They are incarcerated by an unjust system. Mr. Gillum represents changing that.
Yes.
And that's why I've flown from Los Angeles to be here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
I believe in second chances. And more than that, we know that our criminal justice system, often it's people that don't even need a second chance. They just need to be seen as the rightful citizens that they are. The human beings, the dignified, beautiful, strong, powerful human beings that we are. If you have come out of the criminal justice system and are paying taxes and working a job, you should be able to vote and be a part of our community in that way. I have many relatives that can't vote. I have friends that are dealing with the same thing. I don't have it as closely. I don't have children. But I am afraid for what's happening in our country. Politics, I thought was out of my reach. I didn't realize that it was as personal as it is until Obama's election. And I have continued to stretch and push completely out of my comfort zone. I am an American who sometimes feels like I don't know enough to be involved. I've always voted, but I didn't know that I could talk about politics. I didn't know that I could use my platform in this way. And I, since the Obama election, have continued to be involved. I just said to, I told this story in the car. An ex of mine said, where are you off to? I said, I'm campaigning, I'm going to Florida. And I finished work last night at 7 o'clock and got on a red eye. I have to be back at work at 5:30 in the morning on Monday. And I'm here this weekend. And he said, boy, you're really taking this seriously, aren't you? And I was like, yeah. Our democracy is at stake. I want a country that represents me. I want representatives that actually not only look like me, but understand the experiences that we're all having. It is very real. Putting food on the table, getting your children educated. This stuff is not out there. It's right here.
Absolutely.
And in the car, I came up with a new one. Vote for who makes you feel empowered, not who makes you feel afraid. Right. You know? Yeah. And I also, you spoke about hope. Hope is something that takes work. And I heard yesterday, because I just keep taking notes so that I feel smarter than I am. I literally, I'm serious, I hear things and I'm like, okay, that's what I can say to the person that doesn't know what, why, you know. They say the blue wave is coming. We are building that way. That's right. One person at a time, one vote at a time, not 5, but 10. That's right. So I'm sure I have more to say, but that's not on that.
RJ, you know, Andrew speaks a lot about second chances, vocation, Lindsay Hopkins. We have a number of those institutes here in Miami-Dade County. Tell us a little bit about why you think that choice of a career could help someone in the bridge of second chances.
Oh, absolutely. How many of you all have ever Googled or seen what happens at the clemency hearings? Many of you ever seen it? I encourage you to go Google it.
Yes.
I used to work for Alex Sink, who at the time she was the only Democrat on the cabinet. I can't even describe to you how dehumanizing this process is. And we have some recent videos of this current cabinet who feels very differently. At least when Alex Sink was there, you know, Charlie Crist was a moderate, he was Republican at the time, and favored giving people their rights. To me, it as a parent, I don't even know why they have the hearings, right? They ask people stuff like, do you go to church? How often do you go to church? What does that have to do with getting your rights restored? And I'm a woman of faith. My Christian faith is important to me. But at the point where you have 4 people who sit and think that they are God over someone else's life, when these people have done everything they needed to do for years they have proven over and over again. You know, Andrew feels strongly about this. He talks about his brothers. Now, we've seen the positive side of this because we've seen people give his brothers a chance. They've learned how to be entrepreneurs because no one would give them a job, right? We have the information that things can be different if we do different things. In the city of Tallahassee, it does not ask you on an application whether or not you have been arrested or convicted of a crime.
Ban the box.
Ban the box. It's an initiative called Ban the Box that Andrew led in Tallahassee, because what they found was that unless it is a disqualifier for the job, you know, perhaps something where you have to be bonded, if they don't ask that question and you manage to make it all the way through the process, those people are the best workers they have because they have skin in the game and they have so much at stake. Why would we not offer everyone that opportunity, right? Why is it my job to judge what you have done when you've already been convicted, served your time, and done everything you need to do to be restored, but this one thing is left? And isn't it interesting how important this one thing is, right? I'll say something else. It's not just voting for this amendment. It's also important who we vote for. Because the next governor, if you all didn't hear recently the ruling, is going to appoint 3 Supreme Court justices in the state of Florida, right? But even more importantly than that are all the other judges that get appointed by this governor. Because what happens to even get these people in the system in the first place is that there are not enough people who look like the state of Florida that are making the rules for the justice system. There's not enough women. There are not enough brown people. There's not enough black people making the decisions in the first place. And then we wouldn't be in the state that we're in. So we're very passionate about this because it's personal to us. But you all have got to help us, help everybody understand how much is at stake. This is not just a matter of, well, I don't know, and I don't like him, and he doesn't say enough about environmental. We have to get this right on November 6th. Our lives depend on everybody.
And that honestly is a perfect segue to our next question about how important is the justice system and this governor election to our citizens. And as recently as probably a couple months ago, stand your ground law is something that's very important into the state of Florida. We are still one of the few states that has this controversial law. And I want you all to, Ray J, for you to further explain how Mayor Gillum's plan to reform our justice system and further explain his stance on stand your ground.
First of all, stand your ground has no place in a civilized society. Say it again for the people in the back. Stand your ground has no place in a civilized society. You know, no matter how you feel on issues personally, we have to understand, if we're all being honest, that there's bias, right? We all have bias based on how we grew up. I grew up in Alabama very differently than a lot of people in Florida. That makes me sometimes mistrust and assume that people may be prejudiced or racist, because that's my experience. As I've become an adult, I realize that I have to shed that bias because that's unfair. But when you see the video, if you didn't watch it, for what happened to Marquise McLaughlin, because I know Andrew, and I know that if I was sitting in my car with our children in the car, and he walked out of a store and saw a man being aggressive to me, he would have done the same thing. Absolutely. What kind of society do we live in where someone can just snuff out someone else's life just because they look like you might hurt me, even when you're running away? Right. That's not okay, because we do have castle doctrine, right? You can still protect yourself in your home. So people are trying to make this an issue that it's not. Stand your ground is much different than castle doctrine. You can still protect yourself in your home. That is a law. Stand your ground is an extra layer that has been pushed and funded by people like the NRA and all of their friends, that allows people to take the law into their own hands, and then we get to ask questions later. It's not okay. Our legislature needs to do something about it, but in the meantime, our governor can have an executive order on day one and get rid of it. And when the time runs out on that executive order, he can do another one. And Andrew has already vowed that he will do that, because we just have to, I don't get it, y'all. It's just common sense to me. So I don't want to preach to you all and don't want to seem like I'm talking down to you. But it's common sense, because I know that my brother has a master's degree in fine arts. He teaches creative writing. He is an author. He has 2 books. But if he's in the wrong place, or maybe the right place at the wrong time, he is a large, dark-skinned black man. I have had people lock their car doors when I walk past their car. Somebody that can be threatened by him could kill him, right? It's just not right. It doesn't matter what you look like or where you come from. You shouldn't be able to just kill someone with no consequence. So Andrew feels very strongly about this, as do I, and as do I know most of you. But that's why we have to remember that that's not on the ballot, but it is on the ballot. And you need to know how your officials or those running for office feel about this initiative.
Because my memory is short. I got to say this while it's on my mind. Sister Sandrikia and Sister Valencia, come up here, please. Renee, my wife, come up here, please. I got to call my wife up here.
That's that neck.
That's that neck, right? Come here, Renee. So, these sisterhood circles would like to bless you sisters with some roses. Hey, I'm in the sisterhood circle, so you Jane, you be in the sisterhood circle, I'm in it. Okay.
No, go right there.
Thank you. And of course, RP, you know, we don't forget about you.
I want y'all sisters to go so we can take a picture with them with y'all in the back.
Can I do hugs?
Go in the back. Yes.
Thank you.
Lee, do you want the pen or the flowers?
And we got to give Mr. Daniel a sisterhood.
We got it. Oh, so these here have
my pocket. He's an honorary.
The honorary, like I am.
Sorry, my bag's in the way.
You say sisterhood.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. So, last thing for me. So, Ms. Gillum, on behalf of the men, in behalf of the men, that's a part of men coming together to solve problems in their own community. We'd like to make a $5,000 contribution to the So, you can't win a campaign without money, y'all. If something you believe in it, what Squeaky always say, where you at, Squeaky?
Put your money behind it.
Tell them, Squeaky.
Anything that you believe in, you don't mind putting your money behind it.
On behalf of the brothers, we give them $5,000 contribution.
Wow.